Welcome to the 10th episode of In the Realm. It's me, Tyler Tafolla. As always, we're sponsored by Verve Energy. Eat them. Smash that link in the bio. Get $13 off your first sample bag. I went in hard and I told you I would. Okay. Joining me as always, my co-host, Anna Duchi.
Hello.
Wow. 10th episode. I am going so hard for this episode because it's our 10th. Mm-hmm. It's our centennial. Yep. That's 10th, right?
No.
Okay. It's our century.
100.
It's our 100.
It's our 100.
It's our century. It's our century.
Typical century podcast.
Yeah. It's our centurion podcast, and we thought we would do something special because there's been two of us in the studio this whole time. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not. There's been a third. There's a third man on the mountain, folks. And it's our boy, John Albright, producer, creator, and all-around good guy. John,
thank you for having me.
And thank you for being in a different chair this week.
Yeah. It's weird because you'll get to hear my sighs now, unfortunately. Usually I'm just over there sighing and reacting and nobody hears it.
If you hear throughout the show sometimes just a...
I think it was Sean that pointed it out. He was like... He kept reacting to them and I was like... Because I wear headphones, so I never like... hear me. I always and you really anybody that's watching can't hear what I'm doing, but if you guys don't, so you can definitely hear me like sighing, and every time I sighed, he like look over and I was like, what? And then I didn't realize that I was doing it, but I guess involuntary
we love it.
reaction.
It's part of the furniture now, you know. It's like that one bird that wakes you up in the morning and you're like, wouldn't wake up any other way.
Used to it, you know.
Yeah, you get used to it. But yes, let me run down what John does, you guys. John is the creator of Albright Entertainment, which is the head company that has produced and created this show, as well as Growing Pains with Annie, What the Podcast, Mirror Effect, The Neighborhood Watch, and I'm just looking at the board with all of them. Did I miss any? I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Yeah, so many awesome shows. Spanning from podcasts, web series. He's also, if you watched Bobby Albright's episode a couple weeks back, Who's Your Brother, we talked about the annual lip sync battle that they put on. That is for John's birthday. This is John.
Yeah.
That's you.
Well, thank you for having me. This also marks the last show that I produced that I haven't been a part of. So this is like the final piece to my puzzle.
This is it. We finally made it.
So yeah, now I've been on everything that I produce, which is a true honor. So thanks for having me. And I'm producing now. So
yeah, you're currently.
If you see me looking down, it's because I'm switching from camera to camera as best I can. Really.
Do you want to show the camera what exactly you? So this is what it. Yeah, this is what it looks like on his. Yeah,
and so as you know, and it has like you were pointing out earlier, it has like almost like a half-second delay, so I have time to catch reactions, but not nearly enough time, truly.
I'm gonna try something. Here, you put the screen right here, and then I'm gonna wave.
Oh,
and then let's see how much
That's
of
a great idea. That's a great idea.
That is. Okay, ready? Let's see.
Well, you're gonna see delay in just that. So.
Woo.
See,
there you go.
It's a massive delay.
Live streaming, baby.
It's live streaming, and so it's. But yeah, that's you're. This is so much better. I mean, should we tell them that?
Should we admit we've
recorded this before? This has all happened before.
We've already recorded this episode, but unfortunately, a sad thing happened where we lost part of the Albright Entertainment family.
Yeah, and truly, I'm not ready to talk about it. But if I were, my hard drive.
Hypothetically, if I would,
my hard drive with everything just stopped working, and I saw the signs afterwards. Mm-hmm. I was ignoring them in real time, but I'm really sad. It's gone.
Luckily, this happened after your guys, like, or before you guys recorded your 25-hour podcast that you
Yeah,
did.
we were live on 25 hours on YouTube, what the podcast crew was, and thankfully, that's actually when I started to notice the issues, and so right after that, we recorded on a separate drive, of course, is when I realized my drive died, and so thankfully, that's the one thing that's not on the internet now, comparative to everything else, is always on the internet in some way.
So you can Venmo John at John. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, if you'd like to contribute to what we're doing here, I've already purchased a new drive.
If you want to become a sponsor of,
but honestly, yes, but obviously no. But
when you're editing, you just put that Venmo right there, buddy.
I'm going to put it right there, right on the bottom
right
there.
Yep. So John, why don't you take us back to when you got started creating all this stuff and what made you want to, because you started with initially your podcast, Mirror Effect podcast. So talk about that and just how it grew from there.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because I, growing up, was always a huge fan. I mean, like any kid, like TV and, and all. Then when, YouTube kind of became huge in high school for me. And so I was always into production. I just never felt like I could achieve it at a level that I would feel comfortable in, sharing. And so that was kind of always the blockade, is that I was like, it'll never be as good as I think it is, and
sure.
So I never did it. And then finally I came across podcasting, and it was just like a fun medium where you didn't have to have like the lights and the crazy cameras and all, like know how to edit everything. It was just like a very authentic, like you could hear their voices, and when you had headphones on, you felt like you were kind of in the room with them.
Yeah.
And so that's where podcasting originally started for me. I was like, I love the medium, and so I was like, what would it be about? I knew I couldn't go into it just like doing off the cuff, which is a lot of what I do now, but I wasn't comfortable doing that publicly yet. I had to have I had to have like a structure almost, and so I remember I was having all these cool conversations with people that I, was friends with, and we would go to coffee, and they just would tell me these really cool life stories, and I was like, you should share this, like, and again, at the time there probably was podcasts doing that, but then I was like, I love interviewing people.
Yeah.
And I was decent at it before I started recording it, and then as you started recording things get better, and you work out the kinks, and so that's really where it started for me. And so when I started Mirror Effect, I gotta tell everybody, my first season of Mirror Effect, which is 10 episodes, each season is 10 episodes, was like 3 out of the 10 interviews I did were family members.
Yeah.
It's just because it was just like who I had access to, and and I just would sit down with them. But yeah, it was just like that was the most comfortable. And I remember what was cool is hearing people's feedback, and it still is cool to this day, because people go like, oh, that interview you did with blah blah blah, like that was so cool. Like I listened to that, and I lost a family member too, and like hearing their advice like helped me through it, and in the beginning we used to get lots of DMs on the Instagram being like, hey, like I interviewed a mom whose child had a rare heart condition. Yeah. She found out at like 3 years old. The kid was 3 years old when they found out. Super traumatic. And like a friend of mine was a mom. Was like, hey, I'm kind of going through the similar thing with my kid, and like, is there any way you can connect me with her? And I was like, sure. And so I would like gave her their phone number, and so like lots of that happening. Which
connections.
And so the way I explain Mirror Effect is it's kind of like stories or like parallels of the human experience. Like there's just things that form us and make us stronger, and sometimes reveal parts of us that we didn't know we had. And it always is a happy ending, of course. Yeah. But some of the stuff is really gnarly.
Totally. Well, that's what I love, like hearing a lot of your guys' episodes with siblings and stuff. Yeah. It's like I've known you guys for years, and like just hearing somebody that talk about themselves, it's such an interesting experience to me. I don't know why. Yeah. But it's just, I learned so much about you guys just from, even when, talked in here and stuff like that, or when you guys do What the Podcast, just hearing, stuff from your guys' perspective is so cool. And like, even for the people who may not know you guys, it's like, it's just hearing something from another person's, life experiences and stuff like that is so... It's interesting to me. It makes me feel like I relate to people more.
And honestly, like, in the beginning, I didn't re-listen to a lot of episodes because it just was like hearing my own voice at the time was just like so hard for me, and it still kind of is. But when you do it long enough, it just is what it is. And that's so I sometimes will go back and re-listen, and it's purely out of like the story is so mind blowing to me, and like what you mentioned, that sibling episode we did, it was just like pure chaos, and I knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't know like what would it even look like, and we ended up doing it, and it was really like cool for us too, because I think we all came out of it being like, I didn't know like that's what you thought, know, and it all happened on recording.
You know somebody that you think you know them because like I've known this person for years, and then you like they show your respective, and you're like, oh. That's cool.
But that's why I love Mirror Effect, and that's really why I've also taken kind of a step back from it, because it's really far and few between now. Yeah. Where in the beginning I was doing like every Friday, and that was
also the one thing that was going on that you were producing.
Yeah,
too.
And so it was kind of easy, but then I also felt like I was trying to kind of stretching it a little bit further than I felt comfortable. So that's why when I started doing other stuff, and I was like, I want Mirror Effect to be organic. I want to come across a story that I'm just blown away by in general. Yeah. And then I also want to, like, if they're comfortable, I want to record it. I want to share it. Totally. It's just super cool stuff. So that's how that started, and it's awesome. It just got bigger from there.
And so you're doing that, your friend Annie comes to you, and that's when Growing Pains with Annie starts.
Like, so that's, so my fiance Jordan, she is really good friends with Annie, and so Annie started like, just by nature, becoming a part of my orbit, as people do when you're friends with, when somebody's friends with your significant other, you just like, who they are, they're always spending a lot of time.
They're in your house.
And Jordan is really special in that way, where she's like, when she has people and she like lets them in, they're like always around. It's not just like coffee every once in a while. It's like, no, every day they're doing something. So Annie was just kind of around, and Annie always made the joke, like, I want to start a podcast. And I remember telling Jordan separately before Annie came along, being like, I think I'm ready to take on something where I'm just the producer. Like, I'm not a part of it. Like, I'm just kind of like doing this behind the scenes, because I think, if somebody has a vision, I'd love to make that happen for them. And I also think it would be a cool experience for me to just feel like, hey, I'm just kind of helping this vision go along. I'm not necessarily the guy in front of the mic. Totally. And then Annie came along and she said it, and that was her big mistake, as she said, I want to start a podcast. You're like, yes. And that's kind of the joke we all have, is like, if you hang around John long enough, you're going to have a show, And that's just because I like, when I see people and I like get to know people, I'm like, you have such, and especially if they're performers at heart, really. Yeah. I'm like, there's no way you can't not be making something and sharing your experiences and like bringing your talented friends and like kind of showing them off in a way, which it sounds weird, but that's kind of a cool thing, right? And so that's why when I started getting involved with your brother and hanging out with him, and then also with you, I was like, that was just kind of like bound to happen. So Annie, she came, and I was like, you're joking, but you're serious.
Get ready. Yeah.
And so we sat down, and she is just killing it, like the stuff. I remember thinking she'll be good, and now I'm just like kind of blown away.
Her energy, just the last few months that I've gotten to know her, is just like, it's intoxicating. It's awesome.
And that's how I know she's a good fit for like this like network of shows, right? Is because she met Ryan, and like those two were instantly like friends, and I was like, they were instantly like kind of like both intrigued with each other, and I was like, okay, well, then she's around for a while.
You've done it again.
And so that's where that's where Growing Pains kind of started, and she just celebrated 1 year on Tuesday.
It's already been 1 year.
Yeah, and I didn't even put it together. Like, I was just thinking, like, it's been 1 year, like kind of like what you just did, and then I was like, oh, it's been 26 episodes, so I guess, because she's bi-weekly like this show. She's every other week, and so...
It's like when you're doing it, you're in the, like, you don't think of it in those terms, like, we've been doing this for a whole year. That's wild.
Yeah, and again, that's really where that came out of, and it's still... Now I've kind of become, like, producer John, like, the character on the show, so every once in a while I'll like, jump in and give facts if she knows she's going to want somebody to, like, pull up facts, because that's kind of my job, right? So there's been a couple episodes where I've been on as guest, and also like I've just been in the background, like answering questions and kind of fact checking. So
jumped in now for What the Podcast too for you guys.
Yeah, and now she's doing a long-term stint with What the Podcast because, one of our producers, your sister Olivia, went away to college because she is getting educated or something.
I guess.
I don't know anything about that. You lost me at school, but
like I respect the hustle, but not the location.
But like I respect it, but I don't. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm kidding. I love Olivia, but she went to go to school, and so when we. That kind of bleeds into What the Podcast. So should I talk about What the Podcast?
Yeah, let's talk about that because that was right after Annie. Yeah.
I was going to go into it and I was like, it's not my show. I should let him do it. Do the whole
John, this is your show tonight.
And it's my show now. Look at me. And so she, What the Podcast was my next kind of idea. And I remember explaining it to your brother, Ryan, and being like, I want to do this show where I'm like, I have a partner and his video, and we just like talk about whatever's in the news, and have a good time and whatever. And I was like, I don't know who that person is yet, but when I find him, like, or when I find him or her, like, I think it'll just be like natural, And I was like, but yeah, thanks for listening to me. Like, we were hanging out, or like I had like a gathering,
and Ryan went, oh, okay.
And Ryan didn't say, to his credit, he didn't say a word. He was like, oh, cool, like, and I kind of thought, based off his reaction, I was like, he's not interested. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, whatever. And then I get a text from him like the next day. He's like, hey, just so you know, like, your vision you were telling me about last night. He's like, I would love, like, if you're down, like, I'd love to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I was just like so embarrassed. I like put it together and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But at the time, like, Ryan and I and even like you and I, like we like knew of each other, but we didn't like, we were just kind of becoming friends. So it was like we knew each other, and of course, like when we saw each other, like, oh my god, you're doing the whole thing.
I've known you for years. I know, grew up with Bobby, and like,
and so I knew them, but I didn't like know them. So that's why I didn't put it together. But when but when we started, it was so funny because we just like got together in this room, and this room was like blank slate.
It was just the wall,
just like a white wall. Yeah, and it was just like nothing in there, and we sat down in these chairs and a side table and like 3 cameras, and we were just like talking about it. Had no idea, like no thought to even do like a producer or something like that. But Ryan's like, hey, can I bring Kara and my sister? And again, like I knew of them, didn't know them, and I was like, sure, whatever, they can come and watch.
They're just gonna come to hang out for like one episode. Right. You're thinking,
and then they start giving ideas, and they start shipping in stuff. Yeah. And the next week, I think they had microphones, and they were like here on the couch.
Like we brought our own mics.
Yeah, and I was like, I kind of got more and more and more, and then I was telling somebody, I feel like I blinked, and it just, the show became us 4. It didn't. Yeah. It wasn't about like Ryan and us. Like the show is What the Podcast with Ryan and John, but like, it's really not just us.
They're part of it now. Yeah.
Yeah. So when Olivia left for college,
which was such an emotional episode, I was like
so sad.
Yeah, because she was saying like. As far as just like this season of life right now, she's like, this is such precious time, and the fact that like my school, like for my sister Olivia's in college, her school closed down during the shutdown and everything, and just now this year, and they're filming this 2021, she was able to go back. Yeah. And she was saying like, this is such precious, priceless time right now that we all get to just do this that I wouldn't have been able to have if I was in college right now. So like that's so awesome,
Yeah, it's kind of magic, and like the way that it worked out. And so when she left, it was like a really sad, like I remember our first episode after, we kind of just like stumbled through it.
It's like there she is.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's up there. She's just out of frame, but she's up there. And
frame picture of her now.
So the first episode back, we kind of stumbled through it, and we were just like at the end, I think Ryan and I both just looked at each other, we're like, we gotta figure something out. Like, it's just not working. You know what I'm saying? Because for so long, it was just the 4 of us, and I think the 4 personalities all just meshed well. And so then we're like, well, who could replace that? And so really not replace, but who could like fill the gap for the time being? Because really you can't replace someone like Olivia. She's just so unique and different. And
Annie just started like hanging out with you guys.
And Annie just came in. So then Annie was like, and so we just did like a bunch of people. We had a couple people, guests on, but right away, credit to Ryan. Ryan was like, I think Annie would be great, and I was like, do I want to mix like shows? You know what I'm saying? Like that was like my first thing. I was like, I don't want to take away. Yeah. But then I was like, it's kind of perfect because she's already a part of the network, and she just like I know she's good at her job, and so and she's been great. I don't know if you've seen any episodes with her
totally.
on, but
I think she's been awesome.
She's been a real welcomed energy to that show, which.
Ooh, do we want to show that the trailer that you guys have on your YouTube? I want to show right now.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna show it the trailer for What the Podcast right now. Go ahead and check it out.
There comes a time in every podcast journey where it has to decide, what is this show about? This show will literally never do that. What the Podcast.
Wow, we got a full couch.
The guy with the accent.
That was on fire, completely on fire.
Maybe that's a me problem.
There's a golden ticket under this chocolate bar.
You've seen it in the media.
Which brings me to my big conspiracy.
It's like a bunch of blocks.
Technology exists. Why not? That's like a whole different thing. There's a company called Pod Deck.
Pod Deck.
Pod deck?
Pod Decks. Pod Deck.
Pod deck.
Are you doing Pod Deck?
Yes. What do you think?
It's never being made again.
Planetary mindset, like
Old lady that sits in a chair.
whatever, embezzling money.
The beautiful instrumental music.
Eye-opening watching it now.
I sometimes like a good shower.
It's so hard to read.
Retired, probably died. Making things up. I have no idea. Do you look good in tan? I don't look good in tan. The rest of this year will be fine. I'm sorry. Missed it.
I want a whole 10 seasons of that.
What?
What?
Well, that's probably right.
All right, so that's their trailer for What the Podcast. Go check them out on YouTube. They're really great. You guys just finished doing a couple weeks ago the 25-hour live streamed podcast of yours.
Yeah, 25 hours live on the internet, which sounds easier than it is.
You started at 9 a.m. and then finished again
At 10 a.m. on Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was like, just because Ryan and I both turned 25 this year, we wanted to do something crazy, and that was the craziest thing we could really think of. And it was pretty nuts.
I was there for a long stint, and even I was tired, like, when I got home at that point.
Yeah.
So I just, like, I went to bed and then woke up, and you guys, like, were all wearing sunglasses.
Well, that's what's so crazy is I spent a lot of time here in the studio. It was obviously in the studio, like, similar to this set, just looks a little different. And I spend a lot of time usually, like, I work 40 hours, at the desk, and then I do podcasts almost probably 3 times a week. And so I'm used to spending a lot of time in here.
Yeah.
But as soon as we clicked off, I was like, and I left, like, coming back into the room
I
for
don't
the
wanna
next
see this
24
room
hours,
again.
I was like, ugh, I got, like, really nervous. And I was like, I can't handle this.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I spent, like, the next 2 days just kind of taking a break out of here.
A mental break from this.
And then coming back to work on Monday.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good fun. It was
crazy.
fun. It was like one of those things where, I remember thinking this would be kind of fun to tell people, like, if we can do it,
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
Well, the
I
reactions
will
were
never
great.
forget it. Yeah,
Yeah.
people, and to be fair, people stayed on for a long time. Like, it wasn't until like 4 to 6 a.m. that we started to drop viewership. But I was kind of expecting that to happen way earlier because I was like, people are gonna go to bed. Like, they were not gonna stay up and watch us. You know what I'm saying? But
So the guests you guys got on at like 3 a.m. Like Kat and Taylor came on at like 3 a.m.
yeah, Kat and Taylor Peckham, and Taylor Peckham is so awesome. I mean, like, anybody that knows him, like, he's been on Broadway, the whole thing, right?
He'll be on it.
And he'll be on this show. I'm almost positive. And so he came on as like a surprise, and Kat was always planned to come and like tell scary stories. And it was funny because I don't know if it's something about scary stories, but I just don't get very scared of scary stories. Like, when somebody's audibly telling me,
Oh, really?
like, watch a scary movie, and I'm like scared. You know what I'm saying?
I'm done. Yeah.
But your brother Ryan was like shaking, scared. He was like, he had to leave at one point. Yeah, he was like, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. And by the way, going to the bathroom was a whole point system. You lose like 100 points for going to the bathroom. So I knew he was actually like. It was either a mix of he probably had to go to the bathroom, but then he was also kind of spooked because he
I didn't hear any of the
100
stories.
points.
Were they really like?
Yeah, it was all about this like doll, of course.
Like Annabelle or
I don't know.
whatever.
Do you know about Ryan's fear of dolls?
He's got fear of dolls.
He's got a massive fear of dolls.
I'm
Apparently.
sure he does. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if it's like kind of put on a little bit, but
That's funny.
he is pretty scared of it.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
She told this story about a doll that like is now in a museum. And
Yeah. That's the Annabelle. That's
Annabelle,
the movie.
But there's a boy one. There's Annabelle, which is like the iconic doll, right?
Yeah.
But there's another like there's a boy called Tommy or something. There's a doll called Tommy or something.
Love that. Tommy or something.
I don't know. One of them. I couldn't remember. That's how affected I was by the scary story. I don't remember. But it was a great. Kat did a great job. We like lowered the lights.
Yeah.
And she brought like a candelabra and was like set it up and like we like were talking and it was just a good time. And Trevor and Taylor and Kat, like the mix of it was perfect because they were just like kind of total opposites. But yeah.
It's so funny. But yeah, I just love that you also do live streams like that. You've done live stream Neighborhood Watch, which for those of you who don't know, for a while you guys were doing live stream concerts a little bit last year, just for people who couldn't, the venues were all closed, so
yeah, COVID kind of hit that music industry and local live music really hard, and so it was kind of one of those things where we had done one of the live stream concert for Michael's like big album release, and that was really early on in COVID, and then we kind of had such a good time doing that we knew we couldn't we could not do it any longer. So we had 4 or 5 artists and bands just kind of come through occasionally. The goal was trying to do once a month, in the backyard. And we got some really cool stuff and got to see some really awesome people. And so, that was one of those things. And we were also taking like Venmo tips, so we would give them to the artists and gives them a chance to make a little bit of money, because I know a lot of artists were just live music is kind of how they made a lot of their income. So but it was super fun.
Yeah, and the other live stream thing you did, we just talked about earlier, John's annual lip sync battle on Bobby's episode. You guys live streamed that this year online, and you came into a little guest appearance at the end there. Your siblings kind of brought you up onto the stage.
Yeah. So the lip sync, you've heard like a history of it on the show if you've watched the show. But I mean, and my brother did a decent job explaining the history. He left a few things out.
Care to reiterate some? Or?
Yeah, and it's just like it started when I was 21. We've been doing it for 5 years. And it started really small, and now it's, of course, this giant production. And I didn't realize I made the mistake of inviting you this year. And you're like, I've been like the last 2 years. And I was like, oh, cool.
You're like, you should try. Have you ever,
And so I was like,
it's awesome for the people who have never seen it.
I was like, Anna, you should totally come. Like, it's gonna be so fun. And she's like, I was there last year, so I was like, wow, okay. So that kind of gives you a little bit of the scale of like, it's just such a massive, crazy night that I feel like one, I'm always meeting new people, and it's supposed to kind of be my birthday party, but really it's bigger than that now. And but so
bigger than a birthday.
we've had a lot of fun doing that, and you won as everyone found out. You're a big winner, and you have the unique opportunity this next year to be
possibly win again,
because the reset's happening. So that means anybody that won in the past, because before you couldn't win twice, but I want to encourage people. You know what I'm saying? I want people to still come with the same intensity that they did for their first year. So
if you think that I'm not coming with the same intensity every year, whether I have to win or not.
Yeah. I love it because there's two types of people. There's like my brother who's super competitive and like wants to win as many times. I mean, that's kind of our family in general, very competitive family. And then there's like people like Sean Condi, who's been on the show, and Ryan, who I imagine will make an appearance at one point. Ryan, who like, they're like, I don't want to win. He's like, I just want to get weirder and weirder.
Yes.
And I love those ones too. Like there's it's just such a cool mix of a crazy amount of performers. So, but we live streamed this year. Probably our best live stream. We've live streamed for 2 years now. But the first year was rough. If you watched the first year, I'm sorry. It was just like a phone.
You're a long-time listener,
in the back, and that was it. But this year it was kind of a multicam experience. So it was kind of like probably watching a podcast, but same kind of multicam situation. But a lot of people were able to vote. We had 79 people vote. We
did
the text to vote thing, which was super fun and
so high tech. I love it.
And it was just like, again, it's like one of those things where I've always wanted to do stuff, and I was afraid of the quality being there, and now it is. So
I love that.
I love it. It's my favorite thing.
We're gonna show a clip of so you host the event every time, and you're usually behind the scenes, but your siblings kind of brought you up without your knowledge to do a impromptu lip sync challenge.
Yeah, because
with them.
last couple years I don't do lip syncs anymore because it's too much with everything else.
I don't do lip syncs.
I'm not above it. I mean, I love it, and I would do it again. It's just like with everything I can't. So my brother last minute was like, "You didn't do one?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Why don't we just do like a riff off?" And I was like, "That's not happening. I'm not ripping off." And he's like, No. I was like, "David, this is like not to pull rank, but this is like my show, and we're not doing it." And then Ryan came up to me and he was like, "Are we doing a riff off?" And I was like, "No, where did you hear that?" And he's like, "Your brother just came up and asked me if I would strip down for a riff off." And I was like, "Don't worry, that's not happening." And sure enough,
He came
it
up
did.
to me. He's like, "Are you guys willing to do a riff off with me?" I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Great,
Riff off? What's a riff off?
riff off." I know I'm new,
Also, like,
but
riff off, what is, like, this,
know.
not the right word, but anyways.
he's learning. He's fine.
He's funny. He's
I'll say this. Your whole family 100% committed to this, though.
1,000%.
Yeah. We're gonna show that clip of John doing a riff off. So here we go.
We're going to move on to the John portion, which Jared, I believe he requests Gold Digger.
By the way, this is completely madness. I know nothing about this.
Well, I'm in need. Oh, you can go there. Every time that they roll me. I ain't saying she a gold digger. Get that girl, go ahead. Get that girl, go ahead. Cutie the bomb, met her at a beauty salon with a baby Louis Vuitton under her underarm. She said, I could tell you, told me she could have an ass like Serena, Trina, Gina for Lopez, 4 kids, and I gotta take all the bad ass to showbiz. Okay, get your kids, but then they got their friends. I put them in the pants.
Wow, an artist on the canvas and off.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're being too kind, genuinely.
John, performing isn't just your life; it's your whole life.
It's my whole life, yeah. How did you know? Who told you?
I don't know. Someone. Hello. Oh, that's what you want me to tell. Okay. Thank you.
Incredible.
It's Jordan.
Phone, it never gets old. I love it.
Phone. It's my legacy now.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And it's funny because every time that lives here, obviously, and
Yeah.
so it sits like towards the door when we're not recording this, and everybody that walks by is like so fascinated. They're like, "What's this?" I'm like, "It's a phone." They're
It's
like,
a phone?
Does it actually work? I'm like, "I assume so. I've never used it." But
I love this because my siblings got this for me for Christmas one year, or maybe it was my birthday, and I asked the same thing. I'm like, "Did it come with a cord?" They're like, "No."
no cord, but
But
you can love it. I think
love
you
it.
probably could plug it in.
If I found like a wireless cord or a wireless wire.
Like a wired cord. You want it to be wireless.
What year is
You're
it?
asking
I'm asking for it to be a wireless.
He wants it to be a wireless
Kermit the Frog
phone. Okay,
telephone
well,
from the 70s.
yeah, sure. When we find that, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we'll get that. Venmo me for
Please Venmo now.
for a cord. Yeah, I asked you this last time we recorded, and I'll ask you this again. For any like aspiring creators or producers who want to make their own content and have the similar fears that you may have had back then, is like, what would you tell them just to like reassure them, like, you can do this and you'll work your way through, kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't remember you asking me that, but so it is
said
kind of like
something like
it is
that.
kind of like a new question for me. So that's,
It's a new old
No, I
question.
believe you fully asked me it. I just don't remember it.
Don't patronize me, John.
No, I did, and the answer is it's kind of two parts. Like I would say you got to find something that you're good at, and also just like do it as much as possible because. If you go back to episode 1 of What the Podcast, which I did recently, which was terrifying, and it was just like so not what it is now. It was like dimly lit, and there was no decor, and it was just like we were just like kind of figuring it out. But now, cut to episode 46 that comes out. It came out yesterday, technically. And we have this full set, and it's like Halloween decorated, and we're talking, and we're wearing costumes, and we kind of have it all figured out. We have a structure, right? And that came by trial, and that's the same with this show too. I would imagine, I was kind of a part of some of this. You guys do a lot of the content creation for this show, so. But we when you and I sat down, we were like, what are we gonna do? We kind of had a rough structure, and
you came to me. You were like, I think you should I think you should produce your show.
Yeah, and I think that's true about that is also finding a team, you know, like, because that's the reality about production is it just is never a one person job. Like sometimes it has to be, but really it shouldn't be. And so really, like we mentioned, we recorded this episode before, and before I had my friend Peter in here doing all of this. And so, like I said, for this instance, I'm doing it, and that's just because of necessity. But having Peter do it the first time, it was like so nice because
like
Peter
having a team is nice.
kind of had it, right? And so the same thing, right? So I'd say having a team and just like doing it, because you really won't know what works and doesn't work until you do it, and you get feedback. We're constantly getting feedback on what the podcast like. I know some of the people that watch consistently, I'm like, well, what do you think? Like, you know, and they're like, oh, you should play more games, or you guys should talk about like hard stuff sometimes, because they're like, the conversations you've had about hard stuffs is really interesting, and like we love like the funny part bits, and that always comes through somehow, but you know, when you talk about hard things, it's really intriguing, and so you know, feedback and building a team and just doing it as much as possible.
And I think that's like one of the. I said this last time. One of my favorite attributes about you, John, is that you see in people, you know, their highest potential and what they want to be and what they love doing and stuff like that. You just elevate that and you support people and you like are people's biggest cheerleader, and it's like it's so rare to find someone who is just like all in on you when you don't fully like believe in yourself entirely. It's like you like just go hard and like I believe in you. It's like that is so rare in this world, and we need more of it. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that, and I mean that's it. It took a lot to get to that, and that was just because before I used to have a bunch of stuff, and I used to be the guy who had like everything, you know, and that was fun. But like having stuff is one hard to store, and also like it helps somebody maybe once every couple of months. And so when I transitioned my mindset of like, I don't want to be, instead of being the guy that has everything, I want to be the guy who like, you know, helps people create a vision that like it's their vision and you're just kind of the vessel to help get there. And that's done really well for me in the last, you know, in these last couple of productions and even with this is I was like, you know, you were doing stuff, you know, projects online and you know, writing obviously, of course, because you write musicals and all that and music and really just music in general. And I was like, you are a talk show person. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes like I would see some of this video, I'm like, you need a show where you can showcase people because you were already showcasing people like on your Instagram stories regularly. And so I was like, if he had a show where he could like talk about musical theater, which again, you know a ton about, and also you're like able to elevate people, and it was just like it was a no-brainer. So I didn't know what it would look like, and it turned out to be this, and that was by all of our contributions. You know, we kind of all got together, and you guys said you guys write the content, I just produce it. But
well, you're an awesome vessel, and we love it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Since you guys play this on What the Podcast, we figured we'd bring these out. These are pod decks, and they are just random podcast question starters that you guys sometimes bring out. They're one of your sponsors on What the Podcast.
They're a great tool if you're thinking about starting a podcast because they are just basically conversation starters.
Exactly. So we're gonna do some rapid fire ones. Anna's got some, and I got some. So we're gonna go back and forth.
Ooh.
Anna, you want to start some?
Sure.
Yeah.
Anna, go first.
All right. What would be your best day ever?
Ooh. Best day or best date?
Best day.
Oh, just day in general.
You know what's funny is I've answered this before, so I kind of have a little bit of a head start on it, but it's still so difficult for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't like, there isn't, like, I do feel like I'm doing what I love now, but here's what I can explain the best. But I would wake up to coffee, like, there. Like ready to go. And it's kind of one of the things that I you know, Jordan's done that for me a couple times because she knows it's kind of my love language. And so I'd wake up to coffee there. I would spend the whole day probably with Jordan because like it sounds cheesy, but genuinely like have the best time with her. And
that's awesome.
You know, when she wasn't away at college, which she is currently, she's going to come back in December. You know, we would spend just every day together, and that was just so fun, and I missed that so much. So I would be, coffee in Jordan, and we'd probably go to the beach because we used to do that a lot, and have breakfast and just like kind of walk the beach. We both really love the beach, and it just sometimes the beach is just so kind of refueling a little bit.
Yeah. Oh,
And
totally.
I would have lunch. Honestly, not a big deal. I don't know, somewhere, but I would love to have lunch with like all my good friends, which would include like anybody that you've seen on any of these shows, and plus like a couple more, and so I'd have big lunch with all my friends, and then this is where it gets great. I would walk into lip sync battle.
Oh my gosh.
With like a full production team. So like nobody that I knew was running anything. They were all just there to have a good time.
Yeah.
And like production would be like ready to go, and they would somehow know everything and how it works. And I would just like literally walk in and jump on stage and host full lip sync, like start to finish, with all my friends. And like, again, none of them are working in any capacity. It just like is a solid, beautiful production, and everyone just gets to be a part of it or enjoying it in the crowd. And then we would all just, when the show was over, we'd all just have a bunch of drinks and hang out until we all were too tired to do it anymore.
I love that. That sounds... I'm
so
in.
cool.
Let's do it next year.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, if I win the lottery, I'm in.
Done. Yeah. I'm going to do one now. Let's see. Which words or phrases do you use, do you most overuse? So what phrases do you overuse?
Wow. You guys should probably tell me that, honestly.
That's
I know
interesting.
Yes,
That's one.
That's one. Of course, you can't think of them.
When we were...
Go ahead.
My brother's bachelor party was this last week, and whenever I saw John tired, is like, "You doing good, bud?" He's like, "I'm great. I'm game. Let's go."
I am great. I'm game. There's also... I use the phrase double-edged sword a lot. Jordan would tell you that every time I'm like talking. It's like kind of a double-edged sword, and she always points it out.
She's like, "That's not what it means."
Maybe I don't use it as much anymore because like...
Because now you know.
Nah, if she pointed it out, I'm like self-conscious about it. So, but I am that way where like if somebody points it out, I try really hard to not use it anymore.
I love it.
But
Let's do one.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
Ooh.
wow, I've only
You
had
don't
one.
have to say names.
I've only had one like adult job, and that's what I'm doing now. And I don't know that I hate it. Not my favorite, but one job that I reflect on as a really tough job was when I was 16 or whatever. I worked a summer job, and it was like for a guy who delivered water jugs, and so he had like routes he would do every day, and they were long days. They were like he'd pick me up at like probably 8 a.m., 7 a.m., and I wouldn't get home till like 5 or 6. Like it would be long days.
Yeah.
So about 10 hours a day. And he would always, no matter what, and no matter how long it did, he always bought me lunch, which was super cool, and he gave me $50 cash. It was like super under the table, just like, like I said, it was just one of those things. And I remember at the time thinking it was great because I was like, it's money, right? And it was like dependable, right? So it was every day I knew I was getting $50, and it was like cash at the end of the day. It wasn't like I'll pay you at the end of the week.
That's fun.
So, but when I did the math, like now that I'm adult, it was basically working for $5 an hour.
Yeah.
Which that part is the part that I hate. But
Yeah. When you
at the
realize.
time, it felt like I
How old
remember
were you? You're like...
I was like 16, 17. I was like in high
17, so-
school. Like I was probably in between sophomore and junior, so it was kind of like an awkward stage. But it was a good job,
learning experience. Yeah.
But at the same time, I remember at the end of summer being like, kind of putting it together and being like, this isn't really that worth it.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna get a real job, but yeah, that's probably worth it.
Hey John, if there was a sandwich named after you, what would it be? Or what would be on it? Why wouldn't you? Oh yeah, I guess.
What would be on it?
I thought they were gonna say what would you name the sandwich, but it'd be John.
That's a great
yeah, what would be on
question.
the
Too,
sandwich?
That's the in the round deck we're working on.
Yeah.
Different question. That's a good question.
Yeah, what's your favorite go-to sandwich?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a really tough one.
If it's a hot dog.
Don't get me started on the hot dog.
That was a question on our last one. Is like, is a hot dog a sandwich or not? So.
I would say I'll go for childhood. Like when I was a child, it was just always like peanut butter and honey and churros, which were really cool.
And churros?
Oh no! Sorry, not churros.
Cheerios.
Cheerios. That's what it is.
Couldn't think of.
But also, wait, hold on. Wait a minute. We're making something
Hold
here.
on, wait a minute. Honey
No,
and
it was-
churros.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
Cheerios. Yeah.
Cheerios. We got you.
So I guess that if I had to, that would be it. But I don't.
Love that.
Honestly, I don't know. Sorry.
I'm gonna go with the churro one.
But also churros.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll
Cool.
now I have to.
Yeah. You have no choice.
When you die, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh.
Well, I think we asked this one in the last one, didn't
Yeah,
we?
we did.
Probably.
Well, we talked about it earlier. I think I just want to be known for like just being a really solid friend, like just kind of always being the guy that like doubles down on somebody else's vision, because I do love that, and it sounds, I know it can come across as maybe like fake or just like I'm kind of seeking approval from others, but I just genuinely love being a part of, my friends, visions and projects, because it's just so fun to see them come to fruition, and like we shot a pilot for one of your sister's scripts that she wrote, and that was just such a fun experience, because it was like she worked so hard on this and now I get to be a part of creating it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. So I guess I would love to be remembered for just the guy that like was always down to help you create what you imagined.
Totally.
I don't know.
Will we ever see that, Olivia? Let's say on it. Let's edit it.
Currently, probably no, but
I saw the first 10 minutes of it.
I think it's great.
I think it's
I know
great.
she's a little hard on it, but that's kind of how we all are with our art, right? Is we want it to be exactly perfect.
Yeah, you don't see this, but after we cut, I'm usually like,
He's like, get out of here! Let's fix it. Recut. I'm just kidding.
we gotta redo this episode.
Yeah.
Hey, what's your favorite gadget?
Whoa.
Yeah.
You're asking the wrong person that. Got a lot of gadgets. I don't
The
know
most
if I
fun
could...
gadget, then.
Okay, I'll say this. It's the Sling Studio, probably. I get the most enjoyment out of the Sling Studio, and that's what we're using. What we kind of showed off earlier.
It's the thing where we can cut from one camera to the next to the next.
Yeah, I just think that
selection,
like
right?
there's so much capability there, and we used it for so many fun things. We've gone live, and it just kind of is so fun, and I feel like it's the most, you get the most out of it. And it's just a lot. I use it for way more than just the podcast stuff. I mean, I'm doing all this sort of stuff.
It's like the closest thing you can get to TV.
Yeah, and I remember. Yes,
TV
and that's
filming.
Exactly, and that's just it. I think it's like kind of my childhood, expectations in a gadget. Kind of like I'm able to do all this cool stuff, and
That's
I can
cool.
do. And so I think that is my current gadget.
Yeah,
probably of choice
for sure. Let's see.
What characteristic are you most known for?
Wow. Oof. I think
you gotta take a poll on that one.
I think well, you should ask my friends.
Yeah.
No, I think more so probably a couple years ago, pre-pandemic, but still now being busy all the time, kind of having a lot on my plate.
It's crazy how fast we all got busy again.
Yeah, and pandemic kind of slowed that for me, but still, that's what, if you think about it, the pandemic is when we started the podcast, and we started in the
Started getting more creative.
So
yeah,
I think I was still for a moment, and then I was like, I can't handle this. So I would say being busy is probably what a lot of people would say. I don't know, but also being the guy that's always got hobbies too. One of those two.
If you had to teach a class on one thing, what would you teach? It could be anything.
Whoa.
That doesn't necessarily mean something you're good at. You could teach like sword throwing.
So you want me to choose something really crazy?
Really crazy. How to build an Iron Man suit.
Well, hold on. If I knew how to first. Yeah. So I don't necessarily know how to. I don't have to know how to do it then necessarily.
Sure. Yeah.
No. That's not how this works.
No, wait a minute.
I know when I'm. Here's what I'll say, because it is something that I do want to do. I would love to be able to teach people like how to do podcasts and production that we're doing now. And I know that sounds like a very basic answer, because that's kind of what I'm on this episode to do.
That's what you like to do.
But I have thought about doing a YouTube series of kind of showing off what we're doing here and how we do it. Because I think a lot of people were like me and wanted to know how to do things, and if I can help aid them to getting to their next level of involvement in that, I would love that.
Yeah. Cool.
Which talent would you most like to have?
Ooh, oh my gosh. Okay. Thought about this.
Oh yeah.
I would like, and I know this necessarily isn't like a feasible talent, but in this instance, I'm going beyond. Well, maybe it is. I would like to be able to pick up and play at expert level any instrument.
That could be feasible.
I guess there probably is people out there like that.
Oh yeah.
But,
Totally, yeah.
So that's what I would want, essentially. I think I specifically think musicians, they kind of blow my mind with how much talent they have.
That's like the whole Depew family.
Yes.
Like our family friends friends of family. Yeah, their whole family. Like they have we should have the whole Depew family.
I'll have them all on during Christmas, and they can do their like Christmas card.
John, don't tempt me with a good time.
Oh, you know, I'm always looking out for one. I'll tell you.
Productions in the making, guys. All right.
So maybe we're live streaming their Christmas card. Hold on.
Abby, if you're watching this, Jack.
Get in contact, please.
Jack.
Email below. I'm just kidding.
What are you most excited about right now?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I am most excited. It's going to sound cheesy.
Don't do
Cheese
it.
alert.
Let's do it.
I'm most excited for my fiance to move back to California. I was just like...
I love how much you love her.
I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days, and I'm just like... And it's because she was here this weekend, and she left again on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And
she's at college right now, for those of you
she's in a program for speech and language pathology, and she, again... I'm excited because she'll be starting to do what she was going to school for, and that, in my opinion, is going to like change so many lives. And so I'm excited for that, and I'm also just excited to get married, which we're doing in May.
You getting married? So many weddings, jeez.
Well, honestly, too many weddings, but no, I love weddings. They're great.
I love weddings.
You're getting married too.
I'm getting married. My brother's getting married soon next month.
Oh my gosh, the fact that that's next month is...
Not crazy. We're already there. It's next month.
Makes me a little uneasy. Reminds me I have to get my tux or my suit. So
I have to too. Don't worry.
Let's go together. Okay, anyways.
Okay, done.
Sorry.
Anna, you'll be at my wedding.
But yeah, that's what I'm most excited
She's the ring
for.
bearer.
Oh, you are?
I haven't told
The
her yet.
ring bear.
She's going to be dressed up as a bear.
Now that's kind of the thing
I pitched that idea to Megan, and she said no. So, just someone dressed up as a bear.
Dragging the whole, the whole thing down. You know what I'm
Did
saying?
I tell you my Bert and Ernie bit?
No, of course you haven't.
I'm derailing the conversation really quick.
What's important?
So, me and Megan met at SeaWorld. We worked at SeaWorld San Diego.
I've seen the photo. I think.
Worked in the Sesame Street area. Good friends with Bert and Ernie.
Good friends.
And I was saying to her, like, you can have like the Sesame Street characters come to an event. They can be a special event kind of thing.
See where you're going
like
with
Make a
this.
Wish or something like that, or
this.
special events. And I said, wouldn't it be crazy that if like during the middle of the party, after dinner and everything, everyone's dancing and stuff like that, everyone has had a drink or so, and it's a
I will.
And you will. Lights, dark, everything's going crazy, and then all of a sudden, like, you saw Bert and Ernie just walk through the crowd at one point.
Joins the dance floor,
and
now
then leaves. And then all of a sudden...
I love that.
And then all of a sudden...
Like a fever dream.
Like, they're gone. And then, like, the next couple days, people are like, yeah, that was a crazy wedding. All these lights, the cake was great. And then Bert and Ernie were there. And then a couple of people that were planted go, what did you say?
Yeah.
That were
That
planted.
never happened.
It's important that they were planted on.
Yeah, the sober folk in the crowd.
I just love that so much.
Hey,
just like a run through, you know what I'm saying?
just like, hey,
Just like,
hey, tell us about the party. And then the next day, so that never happened. She exited that one too.
I think you would surprisingly get a lot of people that would doubt themselves and thinking that they saw it.
And that's the point, John.
I know.
That's what I wanted.
I know, and that's kind of the scariest part.
And that's like, if we were still to go through with it, I can't anymore because I've told everyone on this. But could you imagine, just for someone's wedding in the future, if you're planning to get married at some point in the next 5 years?
Bert and Ernie.
Bert and Ernie. There you go.
So the question is,
it doesn't have to be. It could be Big Bird. Just get a bigger venue.
Technically, if you don't hire them, and you don't know that it's coming, I mean, is it really your fault?
Is it your fever
If
dream?
somebody came.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody were to hire Bert and Ernie to run through your wedding,
I'm just saying that'd be crazy unless.
I mean, I'm not above it, truly.
John, you don't have to get me a gift.
I'm just gonna get you a card. In the card, I'll just write like, you know what I get. You know what I'm saying? You understand. I didn't get you something. I got you an experience.
Someone.
You'll know when it comes.
Someone. Yeah, that's really what it is.
I got you an experience.
I got you something you'll never forget. Truly.
There you go. Also, can you tell me how to get
How to get
to my street?
how to get to my street. That's what's gonna happen.
I'm glad you came back to do this episode.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah. For those of you who are watching right now, things are getting a little ooky spooky in the studio right now. Ooh. And I can officially say, because she just texted me during all of this,
Right.
Kat Pinning is going to come on for our next episode.
You know I love her, so.
I love her. She's going to be on a lot of Albright Entertainment.
Yeah, she's gonna
stuff.
make the rounds.
Make the rounds, because
On
yeah.
a few shows, honestly.
On the rounds, in the rounds.
On the rounds. On the rounds.
Yes, because our next episode will be a Halloween theme.
We all have to wear costumes. I guess I could wear a costume, just
You can
not
wear
be
a
on screen.
costume,
You know what I'm
just
saying?
We'll
I'm
just
like in full. Like I go hard with the costume, and they just
You
never
never
see it. It's like
That's when I bring out Bert and Ernie. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so yeah, we might do costumes.
Tell you how to get.
I don't know, that'd be crazy.
Unless
Thanks for being here, John.
I couldn't imagine being anywhere else, and by that I mean I was contractually obligated to be here.
I mean, I
so.
couldn't imagine being anywhere besides my house.
Besides, yeah, here.
Here.
You know.
Right here. Anna, I'm so glad you came to John's house today.
me too.
Weird coincidence, huh?
I know.
Crazy
Having a
we were
beard.
all here all of a sudden. Bert was doing the sound back there.
Could you believe it?
Could you believe it? You'll never know.
Unless.
You'll never know unless.
Dun, dun.
It's crazy. His hands are huge. That's why it's all.
It's why it's awful.
Oh my gosh, guys. The arts have the ability to create a community, and the arts have the ability to be a place to camaraderate. Is that the word?
It is.
It
Sure.
is. I'll take it. And just be there for one another, to lift each other up, and be vessels for really cool things to happen. So we hope we can provide that to you, and we hope you have enjoyed this episode and be back for our spooky episode next week for Halloween. You can follow us at In The Round with Tyler Tafolla on Instagram and on Facebook. You can do that same, In The Round with Tyler Tafolla. We do things every other week, and we do things every other Saturday, and it's a party, and I love you. Okay? Bert, I love you. That's right. Okay. Bye. We'll see you around. Bye.